Hello my friends and welcome. Today we're going to go over a recent Armored Core 6 interview with Ogura and Yamamura. Let's jump right in. This is the first new game in about 10 years. Why did the development of Armored Core 6 come to fruition at this time? It's been 10 long years since Ogura's previous game, Verdict Day. But first of all, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to our fans for their continued patronage of the Armored Core series. Although a long period of time has passed, there were many staff members, including President Miyazaki and myself, who wanted to create an Armored Core because excellent human resources had been nurtured from our experience in title development so far. There was no option to make Armored Core in the first place. However, we had several projects going on at the same time and allocated internal resources to the development of other titles, which resulted in a long wait. When did you actually start developing this game? We started considering it around 2017, and from around 2018, Miyazaki and several directors started developing prototypes. As initial directors in the early stages of development, exploring and considering the broad direction of what the new AC series would be. Then, after the direction and policy to be aimed were solidified to some extent, Yamamura, the director of this game, took over and full-scale title development began. So you were developing Elden Ring at the same time? Yes. Not only this title, but basically From Software develops multiple titles at the same time. And you know, we already know that. When the development was announced at the Game Awards, I was surprised by the huge response from overseas. To be honest, I was surprised that the sequel to AC had been eagerly awaited overseas. I was very surprised. When the AC series was released in the past, SNS was not as popular as it is now, and it was unclear what overseas fans thought. Therefore, I was very moved not only by the great response we received from all over the world, but also by the large number of fans in Japan and abroad who have been waiting for us for 10 years. I was delighted with the reaction of the fans in Yamamura, and all the staff gave us the fuel to finish the race. From Software is a strong image of being a dark fantasy action RPG, but I think that long-time fans have been thinking From Software also has robot games. 10 years have passed since the release of the previous game, and it's not surprising to say that one generation has changed. It's no surprise that people have learned about From Software over the past few years, have the impression that our games are mostly dark fantasy action RPGs. However, since its founding, From Software has been working on two genres, the dark fantasy Kingsfield and the mecha action Armored Core. I would be happy if this title could once again highlight the rich variety of games that From Software makes. This game will not be like the Dark Souls series, right? Exactly. It didn't mean that the game would be a format similar to the Dark Souls series. Utilizing the knowledge, experience, and accumulated know-how gained from the development of various titles to date, this game aims to create a new mecha action game that can only be created by From Software by combining the fun of the core of mecha customization that the AC series originally had. Specifically, we have a complex and three-dimensional map design that is unique to us, and a battle design that observes the enemy's movements to determine how to deal with them, and the know-how gained in recent title development is utilized in this area. That said, AC is different from the games in the Dark Souls lineage, from the basic format of the game, so there's no part that we can follow to the successful attempts. Tell us again about the story and the worldview of this work. The planet Rubicon 3, which is the setting of this game, is a devastated planet that can be said to be the site of a disaster, burned down by a catastrophe caused by large-scale ignition, phenomenon of the new substance coral, that occurred about half a century ago from the start of the game. At the beginning of the story, the extrastellar corporate forces that have caught the information that the coral should have been lost in the catastrophe has been found again, have begun to enter the Rubicon to acquire its concession, and they are in conflict with the indigenous forces that resist it. Players will throw themselves into the war over coral as independent mercenaries who do not belong to a specific faction, and as old generation enhanced humans whose brains are optimized only for piloting AC. God damn. Although elements like enhanced human continue to appear after that, it reminds me of the series titles up to Armored Core 3. Yamamura says, "In this work, it is set to be an old generation type, so the emotions are almost dead in exchange for AC piloting skills." It's also related to the story, but in terms of the game, it's a form that overlaps the tradition of the series, that the main character does not speak. As usual, I think you can play thinking that the main character equals yourself. Speaking of the uniqueness of the series, you mentioned earlier that you and Miyazaki decided you wanted to take for Armored Core 6, but what exactly was the direction? Yamamura is the initial game director, and he directs the initial development stage with two other directors. In addition to divining the direction of the worldview and mechanical design based on old science fiction, guidelines such as expanded action that humans cannot do were presented. Aerial combat and high-speed movement are easy examples of this. But our team also focused on points such as mechs can dodge attacks at the same time, and can handle multiple weapons at the same time. As a result, I think we're able to create a two-way aggressive and thrilling combat experience in this game, where you dynamically fly around in 3D space and shower each other with attacks. I think they're asking what game this is most like. I can't say for sure, but in terms of the average movement speed of the game, I think it's close to the middle between AC3 and AC5. Personally, I love the ultra high-speed action games of the AC4 series, but in this game, we wanted to focus on being an action game where you have to watch and deal with enemy movements, and deliberately reduce the speed of the level, where you can see the attack and defense. However, at the same time, the combat distance is also set closer than in past games, so the experience speed of this game is not inferior to that of the past AC. And I think the impression is that it has increased rapidly and rapidly. Maybe translation deal there. Does this mean melee combat will be the main focus in this game? No, it's not that close. Shooting weapons are still the main weapon of the AC, and shooting from a distance is one of those attacks. However, it's been adjusted to make it easier to shoot if you want to take risks and step forward. And melee weapons have unique ones, such as laser lances and chainsaws, so please enjoy the thrilling close-up battles and defenses. Assembling that changes the feel depending on the player's choice. I'm also curious what kind of assembly you can enjoy with the latest work. We aim to make it possible to build an aircraft to your liking, not only in terms of high and low parameters, but also in the feel part of the action game. In particular, you can focus on the leg parts and control movement and weapon parts that control attacks. For example, you can use additional actions such as drift turns for tanks, and hovering moves in the air for quadrupeds. quadrupeds. I've also been conscious of the individuality of weapons, in terms of sensual aspects such as the motion of use, the way they receive recoil of the shot, and behavior of the bullets flying. Okay guys, this one's kind of dragging on. I'm about halfway through, so I will see you in the next video. Have fun and stay safe, my friends.